Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the $500 minimum 44 variant for November 16th. Of course, it is our semifinal matchup taking place between HavoK Esports and Lethal Gaming. Unfortunately, for those who are familiar with the Codcaster glitch, we'll be looking at this hardpoint from above. And unfortunately, in the bird's eye view, is how we'll be spectating this one. Unfortunately, I can't go into free cam because it only pulls up the minimap. So unfortunately, there is a glitch in the Codcaster, which obviously limits me from basically going to first-person mode, which is rather unfortunate and very difficult to tell who is up and who is leading. However, I'll be doing my best to try to keep you guys up to date with all of that information, of course. We do apologize for the extensive delay into getting into this particular match, but things are finally ready to go. Things are up and going. And, of course, we are hopping in here toward, like I said, St. Marie Dumont for map number 1. Of course, this one going to be on Hardpoint. Map number 2 will be Search and Destroy on London Docks. And if it comes down to it, map number 3 will be Gridiron on Flak Tower. So both of these teams, of course, very talented, have got a lot of experience versus one another. Of course, we do talk about the side of Lethal Gaming, consisting of MuTeX, Ramby, RecKs, and Major Maniak. Of course, this group known for their Search and Destroy online play and past. RecKs and Co. has had a number of different lineups, trying to form different groups when it came down to the respawn game. Of course, trying to play toward the end of Black Ops 3. And, Infinite Warfare has had a few different opportunities. Of course, now found himself alongside of these three and are trying to face off their wits when it comes down to respawn. And, RecKs and Co., he's kind of been a guy who has been a very well-known Search and Destroy player who's been kind of one of the first guys to want to say, hey, I want to play variant. I want to prove to these professional players that, hey, we can compete when it comes down to the respawn. And quite a few Search and Destroy players, especially as of recently, along with the history that does consist when it comes into Call of Duty, Search and Destroy players, online players, it really doesn't make that much of a difference, at least from what we've seen in the past. However, things can definitely change. But for the moment, it is the side of Lethal Gaming who does control the lead, as well as does control this current hardpoint. Instead of parking lot, doing some damage right now is MuTeX, currently sitting at 10-5. Major Maniak, 7-1, and holding down this great cut, trying to watch the players coming out of this radio tower and doing damage. Gets the headshot there onto Evan Holler. And also could potentially find another one, but here comes 3 big kills, and Ramby's still in the back lines. Needs to stay alive, but no, it is going to be Kade who does find a few big ones, and now is going to have current control of that hill. You see them now spawning inside a back barn. And so while the time is slim, and while it isn't looking like it is going to be a massive comeback, it is going to be one nonetheless. So locking time down, of course, it is now going to be the rotation coming in for the side of Lethal Gaming, being aware of this next push, as it is going to be MuTeX, Maniak, doing some damage. Of course, looking on point with MuTeX at the moment. 13-6. Watching that come around from players coming through green. Doing a great job at it. As kills starting to take place, ExiB ends up dropping 1. Of course, when we talk about the side of HavoK, I know we've obviously already talked about Lethal Gaming up to this point. We do have to bring up HavoK Esports. This entire team, at one point, has played for Enigma 6. Not necessarily all together, but have played for Enigma 6 in the past, Holler being 1, and the other 3 were actually a part of the original E6 team, which came from the original Onslaught team back in Advanced Warfare, where, obviously, General ended up realizing that, hey, I'm going to make an organization. And in doing so, he obviously brought over his 3 friends, all from Michigan, and they ended up forming Enigma 6 group. And, of course, that kind of formed into a very large-scale organization, which, of course, now competes in multiple esports, along with Lethal Gaming and many other esports organizations as well that compete in COD. But Enigma 6, an organization unlike many others. Of course, General, coming into the new year, decided to go ahead and release MRuiz throughout Infinite Warfare. Of course, ExiB has not played for them in a while since the original split, just due to, in fact, of the under 18 age limit. But recently also said goodbye to Kade, along with Proto and Royalty, the E6 lineup, and decided to pick up Bevels, Decimate, and Dashy. Dashy, of course, most notably coming from Straight Rippin', while the other 2 have been known kind of in the online community as Search and Destroy players. So, with that in mind, you got to imagine maybe even, not that this really comes into play, but Kade and MRuiz, they're maybe a little bit ticked. Maybe they're like, you know what, I'm not really excited about these Search and Destroy players. They're not as, hyped up as they deserve to be. So maybe a little bit of, sort of animosity potentially towards some Search and Destroy players, and Lethal Gaming being exactly that. So, With that in mind, it is currently a 150-60 lead right now for Lethal Gaming. Definitely a major performance being shown here from Major Maniak. Currently quadruple positive. And if anyone is quadruple positive in the game of Hardpoint, I can promise you that 99% of the time that team who that player is on is probably winning the map. So with that in mind, Major Maniak playing incredibly strong, incredibly sound at that, as they have been limiting the side of HavoK Esports from really making that much of a momentum shift. His kills coming through. Ramby actually ends up taking out his teammate, but nades are still running from the skies. PPSHs are out, and Major Maniak is still alive, man. 19-4 on a 6 spree. Unfortunately, just as I say that, he ends up dropping, but MuTeX is still the last man here, and you can see the amount of smokes that are actually being tossed out. I believe these are coming in from Lethal Gaming. Normally, we'll see that strategy come in and search and destroy, but in respawns, they can play a huge factor, man. Smokes, when it comes down to any boots in the ground title, especially World War II, we've talked about how, you know, intense the lethals, the tacticals can be. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if we start to see strategies like that become a huge factor, and I like this play from Maniak. Of course, Hill currently in parking lot. He's kind of holding that back line. Players coming from the prior hill and doing some damage. As the spawn, I believe, comes in from one player. That was MRuiz. As soon as the kill comes in, it's great timing. So they shouldn't be expecting a player at this close of an angle, and MRuiz is going to make Major Maniak play, or make him pay, rather. As the push comes in, here comes the trade. MRuiz should find this, but no, Teddy RecKs ends up finding 2 huge kills, and it will be the side of Lethal Gaming who reaches that 200-point mark. Of course, only 47 more seconds needed here for Lethal to call map number 1 a GG's and potentially putting this one in the 100-point club, as I believe these actually smokes are coming in from HavoK Esports, at least based on the push that we're ended up seeing. Unfortunately, it's more hard to be able to depict that or not, just because of the angle that we're currently at. But to kind of bring up more about HavoK Esports, I believe this team was supposed to be under Project Evil heading into World War II. There was a little bit of roster rumors going on. I ended up picking up Profizi and Beezy's team in the end, and there was a little bit of drama going on because this team was basically on Project Evil and was kind of set to be on this lineup for a bit, and then, you know, obviously ended up having to find a different organization and found their home here on HavoK, which I believe is where Holler was playing at prior to the end of Infinite Warfare, alongside other few teams trying to compete there at COD Champs. But still looking on. Here come the streaks, and I wonder who they're from. They're from this man right here, Major Maniak, making this look like a public match. 27-9. Granted, doesn't have the most hardpoint time, but who would? Who needs to when you're dominating like this? A great Molotov to kind of limit both of these players. And I believe Holler ends up finding 3 big kills, but the one at the end is the most important. Maniak finding 2 of his own, and Maniak wants a 3rd potentially, but no, ExiB is there to respond. ExiB having a rough game, currently -12, but trying to get at least some time in the hardpoint, trying to bring his team back because they're well narrowly out of this one. The rotation needs to come in, and it needs to be held here inside a bottom restaurant, rather, for HavoK. As Kade trying to get some time down, him and MRuiz trying to possess some time. MRuiz hops out of the hill only for the time being, as it will be Teddy RecKs making somewhat of an impact. But here come the streaks, potentially. I would imagine. I'm not actually sure if Major Maniak has any more. But I thought he might streak off the rotation just to limit the other 2 players inside of the hard point. But they're getting it done with gun skill. And Teddy RecKs is lighting it up with that PPSH inside. And this is the one thing when it comes into breaking this hill, at least from pro teams I've seen, especially LG, normally they're going to have John kind of rushing the hill with the PPSH, of course, the sub player for that team. What they really like to do is rock FMJ on an FG42 and just start spraying through that wall. And once you do that, it totally limits the other team because they really can't do anything. It's a matter of just knowing where different angles are coming in, different points of entering in the building. And with that in mind, regardless of the strategies, it is Lethal Gaming who currently is in possession of a massive lead right now and still trying to make this pinch come through. Of course, right now, it is HavoK inside of the hard point. Teddy RecKs ends up getting shut down there from ExiB. As like I said, he was -12, trying to bring this one back, and off the back, off a narrow lead at the beginning, which of course has turned into a little bit of a comeback right now. Holler, they're doing some damage. They're holding down a lot of time, and Holler's playing incredibly well at the moment. 26 and 24 is currently on a 4 spree and potentially could be earning some of those streaks. Finding this one in the back is crucial, and yes, Holler wins a massive battle. That's going to guarantee his team an extra 15 seconds, as they are now down by only 3 after he grabs these last few seconds of scrap points. So keeping in mind that rotation coming in here toward parking lot. As the nades come through, Teddy Rex finds one, the Molotov to limit the vision, and we'll see how long this player in the back lines, which I believe is Kade, has to do some damage. He finds 2, though, and he'll find the 3rd. Kade doing exactly what he has to, and MRuiz finishing off the 4th, as it is going to be the side of HavoK who officially takes the lead. But the rotations for the back lines, keep in mind, it looks like Lethal has spawned back here. Holler, along with his teammates, are getting the work done. The 3 kills coming in huge, but Holler still has spawn control. They have the lead, and they can easily win off this hill. Lethal Gaming have got to get a push forward, but they're entering in from the wrong side. That should be HavoK's game. There's only 10 seconds left, and can this massive deficit turn into a victory for HavoK? It looks like it's going to be possible. Only a few more seconds left. Do they have mollies? Do they have the gun skill? Yes, they're able to do it. What an insane comeback that we witnessed from the bird's eye view here for the side of HavoK, as they were down, what was it, like 230 or 220 to 80? What an insane comeback there from HavoK Esports as they locked this one down off the back of Holler, man. That guy was going off, along with Major Maniak. Like, Major Maniak, what does he finish? 31 and 16, nearly goes double positive, and loses the match 250 to 218. What an insane game, and what an insane game that we unfortunately had to witness there to the Skycam. We, of course, do apologize for that, but there is actually nothing we can do. We've been testing this for countless hours, trying to figure out how can we get out of this above perspective. Unfortunately, it's not been solved yet, and hopefully the patches will come out soon so we don't miss any more awesome maps, of course, any more amazing series along with that one. But what an insane comeback there from HavoK. I'm looking forward to maybe seeing the exact scoreline of what that comeback exactly was. But that was a good 150-second comeback that we ended up seeing come in from HavoK Esports off the back of Holler, who ends up finishing, 27 and 25. And we talked about the scoreboard, right? 13 and 28 for Ramby, 31 and 16 for Major Maniak. MuTeX ends up finishing off 30 and 29. On the other side, it's more consistency, though. You see consistency coming in from HavoK Esports, and that's the reason why we see Map 1 go in their favor, is its consistency rather than outliers. And that's what you have to see if you want to win a Hardpoint game. That's exactly what HavoK Esports was able to do in making that comeback. Major comeback, of course, on that secondary hill back in Winery. We were seeing them do excellent stuff in locking that one down. And granted, I was kind of not like hating necessarily on ExiB, but he was obviously having a slow performance. He ends up finishing off 25 and 21. He was negative 12 at one point. So you want to talk about one player who brought it back? It was this guy. So, or actually, wait, no, that was MRuiz, so I just pointed out. Still, ExiB plays well. Gets a minute and 34 seconds inside the hill, 19-27. Thought that was ExiB, but I was like, wait a second, that's not necessarily possible. But ExiB plays well. The whole team starts to rack up some time, and they obviously get the W in the end because that's what matters. So with that in mind, HavoK Esports narrowly and with a massive comeback ends up taking map number 1. But how will map 2 play out? That one going to be Search and Destroy on London Docks. Can HavoK Esports take the momentum into making this one a 2-0 sweep, or will we see the side of Lethal Gaming get their revenge and force Gridiron on Flak Tower? We'll see all that information when we come back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the $500 minimum 44 variant for November 16th. Of course, we do apologize for a little bit of a delay, of course, getting between map number 1 and map number 2. A little bit of connectivity issues between the players, but everything should be ironed out here for, like I said, our map 2 here on Search and Destroy for some London Docks. As we're looking on here with Ramby from the side of Lethal Gaming. Does have that bomb in hand. Of course, his team on the offense. And a beautiful flank there, of course, using the dock to the best of his abilities. And MRuiz quickly to find himself in a 1 versus 3 situation. Yet to find a kill. And we'll see if he can potentially spot out one. Does hear one falling, and Major Maniak, I believe, finds the turn on, but no, that it might have just been bad timing. And no, Maniak does not know MRuiz's position. Of course, it was MRuiz who did spot the players running back into their own building, and is not going to be able to catch off Major Maniak there in that particular spot. So smart strategy there from MRuiz to use the good trigger discipline, because had he found maybe one, probably tagged up the other, it would have most likely not ended out in a kill for him. And of course, look at that, the diamond camo there for Major Maniak. He's been grinding out those assault rifles. I respect it. I'm only gold in just the bar, and I feel like that's been a major truck for me. So props. Nice camo. Obviously played incredibly well to Major Maniak. I believe he nearly finished off double positive, despite the major loss they ended up suffering in map 1, just due to the fact of the great comeback coming in from HavoK. But despite that, Lethal trying to silence them. 3 quick kills. MuTeX doing work with the sniper rifle, and Teddy Rex with the nades. This time it's ExiB's chance to try and clutch up, and not a kill found, as 2 quick rounds for Lethal. I think only 1 person from their side has dropped. Getting it done here with that machine pistol is MuTeX. But kind of keeping things in mind, winner of this overall series will face off against the winner of Hunnit and the Luminosity Gaming. So major team to be looking out for on the opposite side of the bracket. Of course, we were able to cast over LG in their 2-0 victory versus Gravity Gaming. And of course, everyone knows the lineup of Hunnit playing incredibly sound, incredibly strong as of late. And definitely to a lot of people's surprise in the 2K, their performance was very, very strong. But looking on here, Kade, Holler, or Kade and ExiB, rather, excuse me. As Kade, I believe, got the hit marker with a sniper rifle, I believe. But getting ready to be pinched out and just trying to stay alive for as long as possible. His position is exactly found out, but could find a kill. Accidentally mantles, and that's the worst situation to be in, especially with staying alive for that long. As it's now ExiB left in a 1 versus 3. Every player right now for HavoK having an opportunity to try and clutch, and none of them being successful in that particular instance. Is right now Lethal Gaming just off to a hot start in Major Maniak and back-to-back rounds. Involved here with the Bronze Star, a.k.a. the final kill cam. But getting back to how both these teams have gotten here, of course, HavoK have grinded their way to get toward the semifinal. Lethal Gaming have done the same. But the most notable victory for Lethal Gaming came to their last round. Of course, I believe that was round number 3, in which case they ended up taking out Zodiac. So that's a major team to be looking out for. I know we casted over Zodiac, and I believe they were round 1 game, in which case they won that one. But still, looked very, very strong, did Zodiac. I believe currently 6th in overall pro points right now for North America. And to see a team like that fall, you got to know that on the other end, the squad that beat them is going to be feeling confident, and they obviously beat them for a reason. And of course, Lethal Gaming playing very strong in their search and destroys. As expected, as MuTeX doing damage with that sniper rifle here up on Statue Stairs. And continuing to be a problem as he's got streaks. And Holler's fully aware of that. Spawning MuTeX, and he can't allow that to happen again. But no, ExiB actually challenges from the flank, and a great play there coming in from both Holler and ExiB. And now it's Major Maniak classed alive. Shuts down one player just toward his right and manages to escape successfully. ExiB does not go for the quick challenge. And now does ExiB pay for that? Is the thing. Has to go for the bomb. And Major Maniak sees him. Taking shots from the side. Can he stay alive is the question. Does Major Maniak challenge this, or does he wait for ExiB to choose? And it looks like ExiB is going to go for the quick plant. 50-50 shot. Where does he go? Where does ExiB try to find himself? Where does he locate? And it looks like he's going to sit here on the bottom part of the dock. Keeping in mind that Major Maniak close to streaks. Of course, 5-0. Great line sight gained. And Major Maniak making it look easy. Off to 6-0 after an incredible start in Hardpoint. And now doing work here in the search and destroy. He's currently flawless after what will now be 4 rounds of play. As he's earned the fighter pilot, he's earned the glide bomb, and he might as well have just won his entire team the map number 2. As Lethal are firing back in this search and destroy, my friends. As right now, if you look at the overall kills, 2 for ExiB, 2 for Holler, 1 for Kade, and yet to find one is MRuiz at 0-4, despite trying to find that 1 versus 1. And just overall great line sights there for Major Maniak. It's Holler able to find one. MuTeX there for the quick response of the sniper rifle. The crack of that car is just absolutely insane. It's just toward his left. Does he realize that someone is there? MRuiz able to find one. So some signs of life potentially for HavoK, but they need to get a round. They need to chalk one up on the board. And it looks like it's becoming less and less likely. However, Maniak left in a 1 versus 2. Has streaks to use. As quite literally, he's on the richer end of this series. Not just because he has a diamond assault rifle, a diamond FG42 to be exact, but because he's got a glide bomb, a fighter pilot, and Molotovs, and it looks like he could be coming on the flank of ExiB, and just narrowly spots the gun barrel, but will not finish off the kill at that close of a range. And good reaction time coming in here from ExiB, as he does get a little bit of revenge, of course, in their prior 1-versus-1 engagement in the last round. ExiB does find the one that matters the most, and finally can put one on the board. And this is a similar situation, of course, different game modes, but this is basically kind of how the lead was in place for Lethal Gaming in the Hardpoint. They were up by around 200 to about 80 seconds. And then overtime, HavoK started to get some momentum and brought this one back. But MuTeX trying to silence the comeback. Ramby finds another. And granted, well, one is found from MRuiz. The streaks coming in from MuTeX, and they've got more in the back pocket of Maniak. Rushing forward, nothing, no kills found. And MRuiz actually shuts the one down on Major Maniak. So with that in mind, it's a 2-versus-2. And MuTeX will find a big kill onto ExiB, as MRuiz will fall on the stairs. 5 rounds to 1 for Lethal. As while the streaks didn't necessarily find an exact kill, it definitely made HavoK start to separate. As pure dominance so far in this map too, here on London Docks. As looking on here, we're already talking about our next map, most likely in the rotation. We've got Gridiron on Flat Tower. Of course, it's really going to come down to which team has practiced more, and whether or not both these teams have really practiced that mode. I know a lot of teams, as Kade and MRuiz, are at least able to respond for 2, as it is an immediate 4-versus-2 in favor of HavoK Esports. It really is going to come down to a lot of the teamwork, a lot of the practice, how much of it has really came into use, as it will be Ramby left in a 1-versus-2 before I can even utter the word. He'll end up dropping, so at least some good moments for Lethal. Maybe they can hear me talking, or good moments for HavoK, excuse me. Maybe they can hear me discussing about map number 3, just because of how unlikely it would be for them to make 2 massive comebacks, especially in back-to-back games. But it should be an interesting one if we do see Gridiron Flat Tower. And I think it's only fair that we do hop on board with a team whose backs are currently against the wall as far as the current map set is considered. Maniak still most likely with that FG42 out. MRuiz challenging through the smoke as he'll get team shotted by 3 different people. And it looks like Ramby shuts down one on ExiB. An immediate 2-versus-4. Kade and Holler now left up to Kade. Kade wondering what just happened to my teammates. Here come the streaks to know exactly where he is. And it looks like Maniak ends up shutting down his own teammate at the end with the glide bomb, but it doesn't matter. A hot victory here for Lethal Gaming as they win this one in just 8 rounds of play. As Kade, very flexible. Didn't realize how flexible he was. But regardless, a 6-2 victory here for Lethal Gaming, of course, as they do win this one in pretty dominant fashion. And keeping in mind, MuTeX dropping 10-4. I believe Maniak kind of slowed down just a little bit toward the end of that match. Finishes off 6-3, and Ramby 7-3. So overall, a very strong performance there in just 8 rounds of play from the side of Lethal Gaming. So like I said, now we do focus our attention toward Flat Tower for some Gridiron. Honestly, this one immediately becomes a toss-up because you can make a prediction when it comes in a Hardpoint. You can make a prediction when it comes in a Search and Destroy. Personally, the picks that ended up being made are kind of mine. I would have thought that, HavoK Esports kind of coming from a Hardpoint background. This roster has obviously competed since Advanced Warfare in this particular game mode. They're very sound when it comes down to it. They've played at the highest competitive level possible. In this exact game mode, they most likely take the Hardpoint. Well, it necessarily wasn't the case until maybe the last 2 minutes of the entire map where we saw an insane comeback happen for HavoK. But I expected them to take the map regardless. So that, of course, ends up taking place. Search and Destroy, definitely got to be favoring Lethal Gaming when it comes down to this particular one. HavoK Esports, they've got some talented guys when it comes down to the Search and Destroy, but you're looking at 4 guys who have made a career based off of that exact game mode. The reason why they are on a team and an organization like Lethal Gaming for this exact reason. So you've definitely got to respect their Search and Destroy game. So at least as far as the maps have played out, this should have been a 2-0 for Lethal Gaming. Lethal Gaming is looking at this right now and saying, you know what? We at least took the Search and Destroy, which of course we had to. But this was their game to win. They could be in finals right now had that massive loss, that little bit of a choke that came in, had that not gone down, they'd be in finals right now. So, honestly, just kind of waiting on as Gridiron Flat Tower will load up. It's going to be a major test. I'm really not sure what to predict when it comes down to this one. I'm definitely looking toward HavoK to have a lot of control, but based on Lethal Gaming's SMGs up to this point, you look at RecKs, you look at MuTeX, both of those guys have been destroying when it comes down to the PPSH. If we're looking at HavoK, most likely you're going to be seeing MRuiz definitely rock the SMG, ExiB as well, so it's going to be a major battle to look at those 4 players when it comes down to this map. Don't expect to see many FG42s. At least I haven't seen that really be a sound strategy on this map. Just because of the way that this map plays, very close quarters. It's obviously very synchronized, so everything's pretty much equal on either side. So when it comes down to this map, it's going to be very even, and I'm looking forward to the SMGs to kind of be playing that close-range fight. So with that in mind, we'll definitely be looking on with it. But I believe we're good to go. I think map number 3 is loading up. No need for a commercial break. Was trying to talk for as long as possible so we didn't have to see another commercial just because of how long it took us for the first series. So we do apologize for that. But still looking on. It is going to be MuTeX grabbing that ball. It's hard for me not to say drone just because I've been trained for such a long time, but grabbing the ball as it will be a few early kills going down for HavoK. And Major Maniak still vinning to rock out the FG42 and actually has 4 attachments on it. Surprised that we don't see the different combat training being used as the near score goes through, but no, it is going to be HavoK who's able to stop that one just the last second. It was actually talked about Major Maniac's class setup. I didn't realize that HavoK had already been in the base that quick, but Lethal was there for the stoppage, trying to turn a defensive play now into an offensive one. And looking toward the back lines, that's exactly why Maniak is ready to rock this FG42 at range, is sitting in the back lines and doing exactly what he needs to. RecKs off of the defensive play, tries to go for the toss, and it looks like that one is not going to go through. MRuiz and co from the side of HavoK, trying to get that ball out of their base as quick as possible. Of course, if you guys are new to Gridiron, of course, the rules and the points are based off of American football. So if you do get a toss, it is 3 points. If you're able to run it in, it is 7. So definitely a point to bring up. A lot of people, including myself, have been kind of confused by the scoring, just used to uplink over the last few years. And seeing a 21-14 game is a little bit surprising for, I think, a lot of prior Call of Duty watchers. Something to kind of keep in mind. High-scoring games, not abnormal by any means. And something that else isn't abnormal is the fact that Major Maniak is still destroying. 7-4, despite using a gun that necessarily isn't always preferred when it comes down to this map. Of course, strategies are still being formed, and players can obviously prefer different things. It's just based off of the map and how it plays out. You wouldn't think that FG42 would be preferred when you got literally a primary as your secondary in that machine pistol. It can make your life a lot easier. 3 down as Kade is the last person alive and does shut down 1. That's a big kill to find and is going to be able to run this one in for a nice 7-point play. That's a massive one coming in from HavoK just because of the fact that they were down. They had 3 players. Kade just happened to be in the right place at the right time, was able to shut down the one that he needed. And that's a massive mistake if you're Lethal Gaming. Didn't check exactly where everyone was. And the communication, not at its highest point. Keeping in mind, Kade had been up for quite a bit of time after finding that score, just kind of lingering through mid-map, was looking at his teammates quite a bit, but regardless, looking on, as will be MuTeX with the ball in hand, has Ramby as the backline, trying to do some damage from the back, but can he do any more than that as RecKs is here? And no, the backline isn't going to work out what seemed like a sound strategy from Lethal. They had all players pushed up. It just happened to be a 1v1 engagement that happens to go in HavoK's way that silences the scoring opportunity. So with that, RecKs doing damage in the base on a 3-speed right now and trying to be that lead blocker, the one in the front. And Ramby yet again trying to grab this ball, but no, he ends up dropping. And despite RecKs being in the back lines for so long, it does not equal out to a push. It does not equal out to a scoring opportunity. So 1:20 left in our first half. Of course, we both switch sides and play for another 5 minutes. It is a 1-possession advantage still for the side of HavoK, as ExiB, of course, hasn't played incredibly strong when it came down to the respawns. Is trying to get it done right here as 4 go down. However, it is going to be in the back of the base, so at least one wave has been taken out as Kade Interesting movement. Not sure if that makes him run a little bit quicker or not, but E6 known for strategies like that. They were kind of known for making interesting little plays and little interesting quirks take place. And I believe that one will go in. Just happens to throw it just toward the side, as it will be Kade scoring all 10 points. The early flank that led to a 7-point score. And then now the nice little toss after the 4 down will go their way. And yet again, another opportunity here for Lethal Gaming as they're just trying to get forward, but nothing is working out for them. MuTeX all alone. Actually happens to have Ramby, but he can't pick up the ball. Ramby drops, and here comes the toss. Does that one go through? It will not. A massive stop there from Holler. A huge defensive play is not going to allow that one to go much farther, and Kade is advancing with that ball, but here comes a potential scoring opportunity from Ramby. Can he get this one off? And no, just tosses it off the building, as that one will end the first half here at a 10-0 advantage for the side of HavoK Esports. Kade scoring every single point, and Holler with a massive defensive stop there at the end, without question, would have gone inside that portal had he not had the great positioning. And right now, if you're Lethal Gaming, you're saying, how are we not winning? How are we not in the position where we have one player on the other team, literally, we have 2 players on the other team, nearly double negative. We have MRuiz 6-12, ExiB 7-13. And this was the one team, of course, excluding Holler for General. This was a team back in Advanced Warfare, so where everyone was curious and saying, how is this team always dominating, but not everyone is having a 1+ KD? And that was one of the major stories, is that this is one of the original rosters who was built off of teamwork, not built necessarily off of the gun skill. And that just goes to show that that can transition from both jetpacking now into boots on the ground combat. And this team playing incredibly strong at the moment as far as their overall teamwork is considered, as MRuiz drops. And Kade, who had advanced the farthest, is able to drop at least one more. RecKs has that ball in hand, and I believe he tosses that one forward and isn't able to get that one off. He was trying to go for a sequence of scoring opportunities. He was trying to go off for the toss, but actually ends up hitting the wall. And now there is no one. This push, granted, if they're going to find these kills, that's great, but they don't have anyone for the drone. They have no one here for the ball. Maniak is too slow. He's not going to be able to get here, and that drone's going to reset back toward mid-map. And so while Maniak finds 2, he's 19-9, there are still no scoring opportunities being made right now for Lethal Gaming. So Maniak making a presence forward, or excuse me, RecKs trying to make a presence forward. He'll end up dropping, or that was MuTeX, excuse me, but Maniak was not able to check that top point of view. And right now, it's very scattered play from Lethal. It's almost like we're watching every player, not necessarily play for themselves, but everyone kind of being aware of their surroundings, but not every single point of view. And so while MuTeX has the drone in hand, think about it. Who's here to help MuTeX? No one's here to help MuTeX. No one's here. The nades are coming in. Kade is there to stop it. And RecKs is going to drop in this gunfight. Why? Because he has a PPSH. He shouldn't be the front line. And right now, while it is technically only a 2-position advantage, this one's not out of the realm of possibility by any means for Lethal Gaming to make this comeback. But they've got to have a more sound strategy as far as the pushes. They've got to have more teamwork when it comes down to it, because of course you're going to see the ball get tossed down. ExiB, as well as Holler responding for a few. Kade, what's the position here? He tosses that one forward, and MuTeX says, thank you very much, I'll take the kill along with the ball. But if you're Lethal Gaming right now, you're saying, okay, we're down by 2 possessions. We've got 2.5 minutes left. We got to work as a team. We got to get pushes forward. Maniak's 24-11, and he's doing his job when it comes into slang. But they've got to be working as a unit. They can't allow these 1-man, 2-man pushes, because it's never going to work out, especially against an incredibly crafty team like HavoK. And so looking on, Kade, front line yet again, 20-16. Now make it 21-16. Nearly combines for another as Holler. The secret play is coming in. That was just a bait, it looks like, from Kade on the opposite end. Holler trying to make his way forward, but here comes MuTeX on the flank. That's a major stoppage if MuTeX can escape with this one. MuTeX trying to stay alive desperately, trying to stay up, and gets the nice kill onto Holler. A beautiful turn on there, but it equals out to no scoring yet again for Lethal. Maniak watching toward the flank, and yet again, crafty plays from HavoK, but here comes Ramby all by himself. Kade wins a huge fight. and no one from Lethal is there to help him. Constant kills in quick succession. Every time going for HavoK. Ramby ends up following Kade yet again, adding more toward that total. 23 and 18. Coming through the back lines. Big win there from MuTeX, but here comes a scoring opportunity. No, MuTeX ends up making a huge play, stopping that one from going through. That definitely would have been the nail in the coffin for this series. Keeping in mind, last 50 seconds will dictate who wins this series. Teddy RecKs up front. MuTeX realizing that he has not many places left to go. MRuiz toward the back line. The headshot comes through. Can Major Maniak make a scoring opportunity happen? But he's being the front line with the ball. They need to get at least a scoring opportunity for, but no, Ramby is still here. Teddy RecKs is nowhere to be found. And the ball gets thrown off the map. Lethal Gaming and that push right there might have just sealed the deal in their way to making it toward the finals. Here comes the toss from MRuiz. The fade, will it go through? And yes, a beautiful toss there coming in from MRuiz, as it will be HavoK who should win this one. They should close it out. And that's exactly what will take place. As the expiring kills, all consolation ones at that, as it will be HavoK Esports who walk away with the series, winning Gridiron Flak Tower 13-0. And honestly, we saw some great moments from Lethal Gaming. Like, don't get me wrong. We saw Lethal Gaming making some awesome plays here and there. I believe, what was it? Let me see what Major Maniak ended up going here at the final scorecard. Oh, actually, I forgot. It doesn't show the kills when it comes down to this. So not everyone was 27-0 or 16-0. So yeah, they don't show the deaths. Apologies for that. However, though, got to keep in mind, I think Major Maniak ended up finishing nearly double positive, 27-19, 27-18, something like that. But we were seeing constantly throughout that entire mode, we were seeing the difference between Slayers, and we were seeing the difference between Slayers and teamwork. The side of HavoK Esports knows what to do when it comes down to teamwork. Like I said, we've been talking about this entire lineup, whether it was E6, whether it was Onslaught, whatever group this entire team has been with in the past. They know how teamwork is. They know that they don't all have to get kills. ExiB is totally fine going negative when it comes down to maps like this. MRuiz, totally fine with going negative in maps and modes like this. Totally cool with it. Why? Because it equals out to overall series victories. Like I said, we were seeing some good moments from Lethal every single time, though, and you can kind of see a little bit of the inexperience when it comes down to having a ball in your hands or having, in some cases, like an object that doesn't allow you to shoot back. You've got to allow your teammates to slay around you. And that's the thing when it comes down to Flak Tower, is it's very unforgiving. There are so many little line sites where someone can be sitting up top with an AR, with an SMG behind you. I mean, this map is all about being aware of your surroundings. And this is a very difficult one for younger teams who aren't familiar with that kind of objective style, kind of allowing that player with the objective to kind of sit in the back lines while the kind of slayers or the blockers try to do their work. That was just a prime example of watching a team who has competed in the past when it comes down to modes like this, and a team who hasn't. Granted, we saw Lethal Game, like I said, have some good moments here and there. There were moments where they had an opportunity to get us going forward. We saw Teddy RecKs, we saw MuTeX doing some damage. We obviously saw the great slaying that ended up coming in from Major Maniak. But you can kind of see the differential when it comes down to search and destroy, and now into an objective-based mode like this. Of course, like I said, it is HavoK Esports who do advance forward, as they will be moving on, of course, like I said, to our final for the $500 minimum 44 variant for November 16th. Of course, still trying to hear word on to how the LG versus Hunt series is going. Of course, winner of that match will now play off against HavoK in our final, which will be having broadcasted after a commercial break. But still, notes to be taking out here for Lethal Gaming. Going back to the drawing board when it comes down to this particular mode of Gridiron. It is still being ironed out, of course, which mode we're going to be playing when it comes down to future events. Will it be CTF? Will it be Gridiron? But if you're in Lethal Gaming's position, this is definitely, not a bad moment for you. But it's one where you go back to the drawing board, one where you watch this one over and say, okay, what were the mistakes we were making? Who needs to be in this position and whatnot? Because they have the keys. They definitely have the slaying capabilities. That's without question there. But when it comes down to overall positioning on the map, you could definitely see errors that they were having constantly throughout it. Like I said, a very unforgiving map. like Flag Tower. So with that in mind, of course, we will be advancing now to our final. Of course, like I said, still hearing word on whether or not Hunnit and LG, how that series is progressing. But guys, after this quick commercial break, we're going to be having our finals. And our final series, of course, like I said, for tonight's tournament, before we head to a commercial break and get ready for our final matchup, we obviously want to give a quick shout to our sponsors. Of course, major thank you to Origin PC, Aquaric Clothing, Scuff Gaming, and Zowie, a brand by BenQ. Major thank you to our sponsors for, of course, making tournaments like this one happen. And, of course, live here from the UMG studio. Guys, when we come back, we've got the grand finals for tonight's tournament. You do not want to miss that. We'll be right back.